Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to our Kid Dynamics recording and podcast. And we're going to be focusing on our theme for the month. And we also have the great pleasure of having a guest with us. Welcome, 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 Makota.
Thanks for having me today. Yeah.
This is going to be a normal for our podcast as we're doing the themes for the different months and sharing it with you on our social media. This month is change.
Change.
Change. Isn't that a constant thing?
Yeah.
Change. Everything is changing all the time. Energy is changing all the time. Makota, what is your feedback on change really quickly? What do you think when you hear the word change? And then we'll get into the definition later.
I think that change is everywhere and everything all the time. I mean, we could really have it be every single month that our theme is changed because it's something that's constantly changing and constantly evolving and happening all around us. And we don't even always notice that things are changing until they have.
Yeah. Some great feedback there. And even when you think about your weather changes daily, your breath changes, your what your day looks like changes, what your schoolwork, what your career, what you're doing in that changes. Like everything is changing. Some seems to be the same, but really it is changing. And so let's just look at the definition.
Yeah.
And let's see what it says, because that's always a basis for what we do, is we sort of start from what a dictionary definition is, whether it's dictionary.com or one of the other ones that are on there that actually tells us the basis. But even with them, don't you notice sometimes with the dictionary, depending on which dictionary you go to, and then whether it's a noun or the verb or the plural or the this or that of it, like it can mean, it can expand to mean a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
One word.
You could say it could change a lot.
Yes, change a lot for sure. So it says make, different, alter, or modify. That makes sort of sense, right?
Yeah. I could see that.
Replace with something else. You're changing out a diaper. You're changing out your the way you talk. You're changing out your career. You're changing. You're replacing it with something else. How about the act or instance of making or becoming different?
Yeah, I'd say so. You maybe you're acting different, so you're changing how you act, or you're changing how you walk or dress, or doing something differently for some reason. Yeah.
And then it adds to the bottom of this: coins as opposed to paper currency, a handful of loose change.
Yeah.
So another thing in the English dictionary, and with Makota doing so much with her different cultures in different countries as far as teaching, they always say that English tends to have more than one definition for one word.
For one word.
And sometimes it might just be like one letter, or it could be in which way you're using that word change. Now, the case for this, we're talking about this for our Kid Dynamics program. It's one of the themes. It is part of what we want to have the kids embrace and understand a little bit more, and to really help enrich their lives as they expand along the way, is how change affects them. And so what do you think is one good explanation or one good piece of advice or whatever it might be to help, either whether it's parents or guardians teaching the kids more about change, or making them more aware when there is a change, and how that can affect them emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, like all of those things? So what would you say as far as change and helping kids understand change more?
I think that for parents, guardians, teachers, whoever is in that position to tell those kids that, is that it's important to explain it to them very well, because I think a lot of the time when kids are met with change, they maybe don't get told everything and they kind of just get sidelined a lot of the time. Like a good example that I can think of is when one of the teachers of a student's class was leaving, and the students were not told until the day of, and then they weren't given an explanation, so they were sad the rest of the day because they didn't understand it. And I feel like if they would have been told, oh, well, your teacher's going away to go be closer to her family, and, having a good explanation for those kids might have made it a bit easier for them to understand. And I think sometimes when kids are young, especially, that the adults around them kind of forget what it was like to be a kid, and that they also didn't like when they weren't told about things, and that they weren't included on things, and that sometimes I think adults think that they're not ready to hear things, but most of the time I think it's better that they maybe get a simpler version of something
Of a
rather than
change,
nothing.
yeah, a simpler version of what the change either has happened or is about to happen.
Yes.
And so then that's a great example. And I jumped in because I felt like just that whole embracing the change and being so upfront and honest about it. Like, I know sometimes, even as a parent, sometimes you want to protect your kids, or you want to, or like you said perfectly, you may not think that they'll understand the change, but if you can do it in a verbiage and a manner in which even if you're referring it to something that they can relate to, so they understand a little bit more about, what is this change going to be. Even if you go through the who, what, when, where, hows, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Your whys is, like, what is going to happen, and how is this going to affect us, and why is this happening, and, what will unfold, and, it just to give them, it just because it gives them a idea too of getting their feelings out about it.
Because I think sometimes too it's just like when something does happen, it's kind of, again, that the kids are kind of maybe sidelined or just said, oh, well, it's just happening and you got to deal with it and it's already happened. But it's like giving them that extra few seconds just to think about it for themselves, or to make sure that they know that it's a good thing, or that it's something that has to happen, I think is good too. Because sometimes when change does happen and they don't get told on it, they think that it's maybe their fault, or that it's something that had to happen but they could have changed, especially at a young age when it comes to people closer to them happening. You never know what they're thinking at that age. So
yes. And 2 points come up, and we'll talk about both points. One is the change in the personal life, which you've gone through with the divorce, and you haven't, you've been open and honest about that, even wrote blogs and stuff. So if you haven't gone to read those, kiddynamics.com or dynamicseries.com, and say divorce from a kid's perspective, and just how the change and all the changes that were made, and just that feeling of being sort of at some point feeling like you might have been the reason why this change is happening, because you're not understanding. And then on the other side of that, from a parent perspective, when a change like that, in such a big change with a personal experience, is you can tell the kid all they want, oh, it has nothing to do with you, this change. But the kid might, the children might still feel like, oh, well, if I was different, if I changed, then this might not be happening. So it's really giving that opportunity, right, for everyone to at least get their initial feelings out and go, hey, we'll work through this change together. It is just a change, like, and it doesn't even have to be labeled something all the time. It's just can be labeled a change.
Yes, I think that's good too, because if you make it the extreme of like, oh, we're getting a divorce, your teacher's leaving, or we have to move, and then you say it like that, then of course the kid's probably going to be a bit worried, and that's a big change in their life that they have to get used to.
Yes. So. And it's that in change to me sometimes is that it's that unknown.
Yes.
Known to the unknown. And until they get back to that known again, like I even did a recording podcast on that on our Dynamics show, and that was the known, like the known to the unknown to the known again, and the space in between. And it's in changes a lot like that too, because it's that, okay, if we're making this change, how is this going to affect me? What's going to go on in what we just shared a few minutes ago with the who, what, when, where, whys, and all that stuff, and then how that affects them on a physical, a mental, a spiritual, all of all of those realms, just can ultimately affect someone, not only kids, but adults too, with a change. And
Yeah.
especially if it's, like you said, there could be change that that's coming, like, oh, we have to move because of someone's work or because of this or because of that, and you're going to a whole new place and it's going to be a change. Okay, so we'll do some research what that new place is going to be like, and have that conversation with the kids or whatever that way. So then they have some sort of expectations and
Yes.
of understanding of what's happening, or,
Getting them excited about it too, like
yeah.
showing the pictures of where they're going to move to or places they can go to as a family and like making it not something that they should dread, but something that will be a new challenge for them to get excited about, I
Right.
think.
And nowadays too, and then it's good that you say that, because nowadays too, with all the social media stuff and all the way that you can keep in touch with your friends and your good friends and your, especially at younger ages, with kids having their certain friends or their best friends or their whatever. If there's a change, like a change of school or a change like a move, or a change even to a different grade or a classroom, sometimes can be a huge
Yeah.
impact on a person's life. And I love our next theme that's coming up. And should we tell them what it is, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's emotions. So this change theme, and then going on to the emotions. So we've done self, we've done love, we've done change, and then we're going to go off to do emotions, which I think are a key for young kids as well, and even adults understanding it, kids and adults and parents and guardians and everyone, like I said, that is in the well-being field for kids alone, and your own God, in your own self, right? Because if you're listening to this as an adult and you were never nurtured or whatever about some of these themes, it might take you a bit of time to find your peace with it. So then when you have your kids, or, whether they're your own kids or whether kids as a teacher or a coach or whatever it might be, that you can best explain to give them peace, around a change.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I
What affirmation do you think that you could use around change that, when it comes up, make you feel a little bit better for it? Because that's what we have, is knowing affirmations. It's something that it's just not lip service. You got to feel these affirmations, so it has to be something that means something to you.
Yes. So it might be very different from, what I might say, but I think that the affirmation of I become change is very powerful to me, because if I am something, then how could I be scared of it?
Yeah.
How could I be worried about it if it is a part of me? And so I think accepting that change in your life and maybe consuming it, or digesting it however you need to be comfortable with it so that it becomes a part of you, makes it a lot easier, and knowing that that change is not going to be horrible or detrimental. It's going to just be something that is a part of you now, and that you can deal with it in whatever way you feel you need to get over it.
That's a really good point, and a nice knowing affirmation for yourself. And again, that'll be something different for everybody. We have lots of ones that we have the preface to, like I am open to, I am, I be, I become, I challenge myself to, like whatever. Like there's a whole bunch of them that we often offer, but that will change. Those knowing affirmations will change as well as you become more comfortable, from that unknown to the known to the I'm in a good place and around this. So your I am becoming change could then maybe at some point be I be change, or then you can get to that point where, well, I'm just one with this change.
Yes, yeah.
Like, so it will evolve along the way, but there's that, again, that time within the feeling of change, which is usually unknown, and it can be scary, it can be exciting. So it's this, which way do you want to go with that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. I think that's all we have to say for today, because we want to keep these sweet and short and get our point across, and have that ability for discussion or conversation. We love your feedback, your supportive feedback. It's really good to just be able to share with everyone
Yes, I
how
think so.
changes, or any of our themes have affected and or nourished or expanded someone's life. And change is constant.
Change is constant.
And that's it. I mean, I'm looking out the window right now, and the weather has changed already 3 times today. We've seen sun, cloud, a little bit of rain, and then a huge amount of wind. So, and that they not all necessarily together at the same time. So,
Yeah.
so I mean, and you just have to adjust and adapt to that. Weather is always a good thing because it affects everybody in some way. Like when we often talk about change, we're just like, okay, well, look at weather as an example.
Yeah.
You know, like
Look at the time, even. The
the
time
time
is
changes,
changing.
yeah, like and how fast it goes, or
Yeah.
seasons change, and like we could continue about most everything because there's some kind of change in it. So it's just
Yes.
how we again adapt, adjust, grow with, align with, be aware of, expand with. So it's all of those good words. Our principles, AAA principle and EEE principle, work a lot in that too. And if you don't understand or know what that means, just go to our website and it will direct you that way. Makota, as always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. So, what do you want to say? Say goodbye.
Well, I think that be the change that you want to see, and know that change is always on your side.
Good. It can be.
Mm-hmm.
Perception.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Perception and opportunities within change. So again, it is what it is. It's just a word. It's really about what kind of meaning you want to have it have for you.
Yes.
And what feeling you want to have with it. Yes. So thank you for being with us again.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So you guys all know, and if you haven't, we will just confirm kiddynamics.com. kiddynamics.com, and you look for the purple hands with a circle inside of it, and you know you've gone to the right place. So make it a dynamic, change-filled day.
Yes, that sounds perfect.
All right, talk to you guys later. See you soon.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.